So he was sharing his experience as an entrepreneur with me, and I was like, I smiled. I said, I mean, like that's almost how every entrepreneur starts. If you don't have a stash of cash, right, waiting somewhere for you to deploy. And then I told him, I said, when we wanted to start Ennovate Lab, we had benchmarks. We had some organizations that looked like what we wanted to become, but there was no single organization who fits the full picture. So we had to build a collage of organizations that kind of like they were like the benchmarks. They looked like what we wanted to become, right? So I talked to the young man yesterday about CC Hub. CC Hub like became the ground zero for tech innovation in Nigeria, right? The startup culture basically took off because of CC Hub. So people like Shewoni Binde, they started from CC Hub, right? And CC Hub came at a time when tech was still like, for the nerds and stuff. So, but you see what they did was that in Lagos, they were sited in Yaba, which was close to Unilag and Yaba Tech, right? And then they knew that not every student could pay for their services. So what they did was that you would offer a skill in return for using their space. So because of that, they gave education. Number two, we gave very subsidized trainings, right? And I mean, after 1 year, we realized that was not too sustainable. So that's where Kiola came from. So Kiola was launched because we knew that we needed money to keep doing the things we're doing in the community. All right. And there was another organization called iHub. iHub was like the first innovation hub in Africa, right? It was based in Kenya. Interestingly, CCO bought iHub, right? Maybe about 3-4 years ago, right? Yeah. But iHub set a standard with their branding. Wow. When I saw iHub's branding back then, I was like, wow. Like, I mean, we need to actually have a good brand for ourselves as well. So iHub kind of like gave us a benchmark for branding. We saw what branding could look like, and we felt like we want our branding to look like that. Interestingly, Ennovate Lab has existed for 7 years now, and we've not had a signpost outside our office for the 7 years, right? But people know us all over Ogbomoso. I mean, like, right? Do you know us?
I mean,
the reason why you're here is because you know us,
right?
Right? But the force of our branding kind of like prevailed beyond the traditional way, like, you know, companies are known. So our good work spread beyond, right? Like, beyond like the physical signs and stuff. So why am I saying this? I'm saying that when you want to start a business, have benchmarks. There is nothing new under the sun. You are not the first. So go look for people that have done what you are about to do, wherever they are in the world, as it were. I was telling the young man as well that during my trip to the US, I wanted to meet 2 CEOs, but I couldn't meet them. I wanted to meet them. I'd been pulling all the strings I could pull about 3 months ago to try to meet one of them. But everybody I knew tried everything they could, but they couldn't get a meeting for me. The other person, I actually signed up for an event that I was going to be present at, but the event was cancelled at the last minute. But I'm like, it's just a matter of time. I'm going to meet them. And why do I want to meet them? I have seen that when you have benchmarks and you interact with those benchmarks, something of them rubs off on you, right? Something of their quality, something of their approach to business rubs off on you. I don't know whether it's time to share the news yet, but I mean, the community will get to hear about it very soon. But I mean, like, Ogbomoso is about to experience a new degree of events. Ogbomoso is about to experience some of the most strategic, curated events that we have ever known. I mean, like,
big things are coming.
I'm telling you. I feel like people would travel from across Africa just to attend some of these events, and they will be like, you would have had to pre-register like 6 months in advance to have a space in those events. And I'm saying this as gently as this, but it will happen. Like, it's very sure that it will happen, because there is I was at a co-work space in Lagos. So, you know, how many of you were here for Ron and Michael's meeting, Michael Shiben, if you were here, right? Cool. So we had an event in Lagos, and the one of the leaders in that organization chatted me afterwards and said, wow, you just opened my eyes to see another way of doing events. Most people don't understand the power of conversations as events. Conversations, right? I mean, but conversations are one of the strongest ways to distill knowledge in people. It's like we're having a conversation and people are like eavesdropping on the conversation.
Yes.
What happens is that
the idea of podcasting.
Exactly.
As well,
yeah. Podcast. How am I saying all of these things? You want to start a business, have benchmarks. Very essential. And don't play locally. Have global benchmarks, right? Ensure that you are not a local champion. The reason why I don't know how much have been discussed so far. I mean, at the early days of the lab, some of my people would come to me with maybe things that they had worked on, and I might give corrections, up to 30 corrections, right? And then they're like, I mean, like 30 corrections. That's a lot. And I'm like, no, we are based in Ubumosho, but we are not of do must be able to hold its own on a global stage. It must be something that the best of the best can actually interact with. And they know that, man, these guys have done the impossible. Reason being that they're in a resource constrained location and they could build a business that draws from standards that are not local. What happens is that when you begin to interact with people who have had access to all the resources to build their businesses, the respect they give you suddenly shoots up. Because they realize that if this person had access to all I had access to, they will have built something far greater than I've built. Are you getting the picture? Yeah. So then sharing the vision. Funto and Abayomi have said it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be the example. You have to lead by example. There's a book by Simon Sinek. He said, "Leaders eat last." Right? I mean, that's a book you might want to read as a leader. Right? But I didn't read the book before I knew what that meant, as it were. And I've not even read the book anyway. But the idea is the idea that leaders have to actually lead by example. But I need to say something else. You see, you cannot afford not to be a great communicator as a leader. Some people will speak in monotones. This is how they speak. So, we are going to do things like this and we will do things like this. No.
Not engaging.
You have to communicate with art, with soul. Your communication must reflect what you are feeling on the inside. So you must know how to modulate your voice. When your voice should rise, when it should go low, when it should be fast, when it should be drawn out and slow, when you should pay attention to each word in the sentence. You must learn how to communicate. If you cannot, I mean, not only for your team, but even for clients, right? I stood before multiple audiences during my trip. And every single audience held their breath till I was done. What it means was that they were eager for the next thing. And they lost track of time. So many of them wanted the meetings to continue because they couldn't stop listening to what I was saying. But I didn't get there overnight, right? I have looked in mirrors and spoken again and again. I have spoken in audiences where my mouth was dry, right? And I forgot the next word that should come out. I mean, I've been in very, very awkward situations. I've been in situations where I was speaking and I forgot the data I should use to back up what I was saying, right? But I didn't stop. I kept at it. And I think, I need to be very, very, as practical as possible.
Right.
And I need to tell you that I've been in that situation. I've been in those situations. I've been in situations where I finished talking before and I went back home and I was beating myself over the head. I was like, how did you go and talk like that? Why? Sometimes I've been asked questions that I didn't answer well enough, And it was after I was done that what I should have said started coming
Yeah.
back. I was like, what kind of thing is this? Right? But you go back at it. You go back. And that's why it's essential, just as Abayamo was saying, that somebody has a graphics design skill. It does business, but it doesn't put it on the status. I do that a lot to kind of like get feedback. So I have people who respond to most of my status posts. So they respond. So I gauge interest, I gauge response, I gauge resonance. When I see that a specific way of capturing a story is resonant, I make sure I include it in how I will share that the next time, because I know that there was resonance, because a lot of people responded to me. But a lot of people don't do any of those things. They don't, but you need to do it if you want people to actually buy into your vision. Thank you.
It's fantastic. So many gems. I don't even know where to start from. But we'll segue somewhat into the idea of scale.
Okay.
And how to scale. I think that's how we ended the last session.
How to scale?
Scale your
Yeah,
business.
business.
So, especially around the idea of bootstrapping. Like, how do you get from the corner of your room into maybe a shop, into a franchise, that sort of thing?
Okay.
Especially in an environment like Ogbomoso.
All right, so let me say this in Yoruba, and let me know my last. Did you hear that, right?
Got you.
Truth is, I've actually studied businesses. Years ago, I went to Ragare, and I was like, wow. I mean, when Ragare was built, I knew the time it was built. So I was like, wow, this man must have money. Like, he just built, and I was like, man, this is amazing, great business. Until the day I kind of like interacted with the man and, found out his real name. Then I did some search on him, and I discovered that he had been in the oil and gas business for decades. And that he owns petrol stations.
Oh.
He started, the first one was in Ibadan, but it has now grown into tens of them. So I also looked at Zoe schools, right? You know Zoe, right?
No.
Zoe schools, right? It's so small location, right? And
No, they're all over the nation.
yeah, there was a school I observed in Ibadan. I grew up in Ibadan before I went to Warri, and then came to Ogbomoso. There was one school that suddenly it was an overnight success. Boom! We just saw them opening branches. Pa 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 pa. And then the next thing, somebody that knew them told me that, hey, these guys they had one school for like 15 years before scale just came. Boom. And so I discovered that if I can persist long enough with my business first, then the odds increase in my favor. For every day the doors do not close up and then we say bye-bye, for every day I can open the door of my business, the greater the chances of success. Right? Elon Musk's Tesla was about to fold up. And then at the last minute, they were about to fold up when an investor put money into them. And then, boom, right? Had it been that nobody came on time, Tesla would have been a mirage, right? It wouldn't be the celebrated company it is today. So when we talk about scale, first, scale and longevity like go hand in hand. The longer you can keep things moving, the more potential you have for scale. Number two is I have discovered the importance of cash flow. Say cash flow.
Cash flow.
I'm not hearing you at the back. Say cash flow.
Ego.
No. Wait, is everybody here a serious entrepreneur or you just came to spectate? If you're a serious entrepreneur, say cash flow.
Cash flow.
I don't know how I can drive this into your heart. But if there's something I've learned, and to be sincere, I actually learned this the hard way within the past 1 year. So you see, I've been learning some hard lessons as a business person over time. And I realized that the most recent one I learned was that cash flow is king. Before I used to say revenue is the lifeblood of a business. But now I know that cash flow is even more important than revenue.
Okay. Can
Yes.
you shed some light?
Yes, because cash flow is what keeps your door open. Right? If your door's shut, that's the end of the business. So the odds are over. Remember I told you that longevity is like almost correlated with skill. Like it's very important for skill. But it is cash flow that ensures that you can live long enough. What it means is that you might not even have a client at the moment, but you have money to put fuel in the generator. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you have, like, you might have a client who has told you, I will pay by this time. And because of your relationship with the client, you have believed them. Now, the first 2 weeks have come and gone. They've not paid. You're asking them, you are saying, please, trust us. We are working at it. Wait, what can you do? Like, they are working at it. That's what it is. Like, you can't go to their office and go and tell them, pay me now, or, no. So you might have revenue, right? You might have revenue, which is an unfulfilled invoice, that can pay your operation expenses, your capital expenses for the next 1 year. But if there is no money in the business, you will shut down. Are you getting the picture?
Yes.
There are businesses that have done serious contracts that still closed up before they were paid. So a contractor does a business of 500 million naira, and he has gone to take a loan to mobilize his this thing. And then he has put tractors on the road, put bulldozers, put cranes, put excavators everywhere. And then the first tranche is meant to come in 2 months, right? And then they've done 2 months. The first tranche did not come. Alert did not show. And then they begin to call, and they're trying to get the money. And the person is saying that we're very sorry. Our credit instrument has not also materialized. Wait, will you tell the laborers on the road helping you build road that, sorry, please go and tell your children that we can't pay? I mean, they will just down their tools and they will go home. Are you getting the picture? And if you cannot continue work, it means that these guys will feel like you have breached contract. Is it not? So what I'm trying to say is that I learned it the hard way, that cash flow is the most important thing. Yes, it is good for you to be chasing clients that will pay you in 9 figures, but ensure that the money that will put fuel in the generator, that will buy data, ensure that it is present. Ensure that there is money that will take you from A to B when you need to go and get another client. Are you getting the picture? Yeah, so cash flow is very important in the pursuit of scale. It helps you to pursue scale from a healthy perspective and not from under pressure, right? So when you want to build scale, one of the things is when you are working with a limited number of clients, you might believe that you can take on more projects. But the truth is that some people's business have been ruined because they scale too fast. What happened was that they took on more projects than they could fulfill, or that they could fulfill excellently. So the next thing is both their existing clients and even the new clients now say, you have done bad jobs for us, and all of them stop using you, or they scale back the amount of business they are giving to you. So sometimes scale must first be test run on limited levels. I mean, for the first time, I'm considering going to open an OPay account for the first time, because GT has almost made me see, it's serious. Oh, hey. So I'm almost considering. In fact, please, who is an OPay agent here? You can come and sign me up after this meeting, right?
You can just download the app.
Yeah, it's just that. Yes. Okay, I'll download the app. The only thing is just the security issues around OPay.
The barrier of entry is really low.
Yeah, I mean, like I use Kuda anyway, so maybe I just stay with Kuda or something. Possibly. Yeah.
OPay should sponsor the next event so that we can.
I mean, look at that. But what I'm saying is, GT was trying to scale infrastructure, right, to serve its people better. Yeah. But they should have done a sandbox kind of like, experiment before they made it live. So they made it live, and suddenly I couldn't see my transaction history. I was trying to send money, I couldn't send money. I mean, thankfully I was not at the mercy of the app. Right. If not, because I remember there was a day I was coming back from where? I was coming back from Kenya. No, from South Africa. I was coming back from South Africa, and I was in Angola, and I needed to use Wi-Fi, right? So unfortunately the airport did not have Wi-Fi. For the first time I saw an airport outside Nigeria that didn't have Wi-Fi.
Hey, outside Nigeria.
That didn't have Wi-Fi. So I was like, and then they don't speak English. They are not English speaking folks. So I had to gesticulate to somebody like, I need Wi-Fi. So the person said, oh, we don't have Wi-Fi here. So the next thing, they directed me somewhere else. So the next thing, one lady now told me that I should go to a cafe, that I can get Wi-Fi, but I have to buy something. So I said, well, it's fine. Now, interestingly, before that time, I had tried to use my card in South Africa, my dollar card, and it did not work. I wanted to pay for something in the store. I already picked what I wanted to pay for. I got to the checkout counter. I swiped my card. My card did not work. If thank God my host was with me inside that, because they could have said, where are you from? And I said like Nigeria. They say, you see. So the next thing was, well, I had this feeling that okay, the card should work now, like because I've used it before and it has worked on other trips. So I got to that cafe, and then the guy told me that I had to buy something before I could. So I told him, give me Fanta. So he gave me a can of Fanta. And then I told him I need to swipe my card before I start. He said I should not worry, I should go ahead, I should drink. So I drank.
What could go wrong?
But I was looking at the time that I was drinking, doing what I needed to do on the internet, but I was looking at the time that I didn't want to try to pay close to when my flight was to take off. So I called him and I said, I'm ready to pay now. That was how he brought the what's called POS. I swiped my card, nothing. Said card not something. Like I did it the second time, nothing. So I began to try to tell the guy, that's why I was telling you I needed to do this before. I said, I have money in this account. So when the guy saw that I tried again and again, he just said, it's fine, I can go. Wow. I felt like, okay. But that could have been an embarrassing situation. Particularly in places where they already have an idea about Nigerians. Right? They will have just said, look at you guys, you've come to defraud me again. Like Fanta, you didn't want to pay. You were using fake card. That kind of thing, right? So you have to scale, prepare for scale. Both in the mentality of scale. I don't know if the leaders of the team mentioned that they traveled to Rwanda earlier this year. And the reason why they traveled was so that because we're about to do greater things. We want a possibility of us having that shared vision of what's possible. And it's amazing the kind of things that, right, like that interaction has made us capable of just, interacting with right now. So if your mind is not positioned for scale, you will most likely be the one that will shut down the scale when it comes, right? You might be scared of taking riskier steps. And let me tell you the truth, when it comes to scale at a level, the risks become greater. The idea of I now have more people I'm accountable to, and I have more visibility than I ever planned for, right? Like the reviews people could give could be very awkward or could be very bad. Those are things that you have to think through, but your heart must be large enough to say, even if we have such, like we are doing this. Number two is you have to do quality control ahead of scale. Know how to ensure that you can scale excellence at the level you were delivering it when you were still small. You must be able to internalize that, and your team must be ready for that. I remember one experience that helped us to see that we could do even greater things as a team, and that was when a client asked us to complete something in, I think, 1 week that we should have taken like 2 months. I've forgotten the dates now. And we worked almost non-stop for a few days, and we got that thing done. So from that moment, we knew that, come on, like there is nothing anybody can bring to us that we cannot do, as it were. So that's an experience, an example from my experience. But if you are building software, for instance, that may be, you may need to get a mentor that understands what scale is, right? That has been under the pressure of scaling stuff. Because if you built an app that worked for 1,000 people, the ball game is different when you're doing 10 million people.
Right.
Or when you're trying to build for 100 million people. Like, they are totally different things. And let me tell you the truth. No matter how much quality testing you have done, human beings have a way of pressing what they should not press. that will break your software, right? And so like
Things
you
always
see somebody
break
that
in
will go and
front.
press Control FQ or FF, which normally you didn't even test, and then when they press that stuff, it can begin to like, I don't know, it can affect the server. It can I don't like
Something
but
can
that's
crash.
exact, something can crash, right? And so like you need access to mentors. I have a mentor right now who has been talking to me on levels that have enlarged my mind. So my mind is not really operating on where it used to operate about 1.5 years ago, because this person has built businesses worth $1 billion, right? So if you are talking with such a person, like the way you think will change, and the way you begin to interact with your business suddenly changes as well. So I would say that you need to have the mind, right? I mean, first, cash flow, understand cash flow, right?
Cash flow.
Cash flow, right? Understand cash flow. If there's any lesson that there was a lady I was giving some counsel to, I said, cash flow is king right now, you know. So understand cash flow, like persevere long enough to ensure that you do not shut down, because if those two are not in place, you most likely not even exist for scale to happen. But for scale, get your mind enlarged, ensure that you can do quality control tests to ensure that you can deliver the quality or excellence you've been delivering on a smaller level, and then get mentors that can help you to prepare for scale. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Would have loved to take more questions, but our time is fast spent. It's been a lovely evening,
Thank you.
and it's been so fascinating picking such intelligent minds and picking their brain as to how to scale. We've said things around scale, around how to validate your product, around product innovation. I've learned a lot this evening. Have we learned a lot? Fantastic. Thank you so much. My name once again is Isaac James. It's been lovely being an anchor for this panel. Thank you so much. Please, can we give our
Thank you.
CEO a round of applause? Have a lovely evening.
All right. Wow. Like I was mind blown. And I'm sure that is, our experiences so far. So quickly, just not to take a lot of our time. Here's the poll I was talking about earlier on. We want to be able to track the impact that this event has had on you. We want to know if your goals were met, if your expectations were met, if your questions were answered. So quickly, if you already have downloaded your QR code or you already have a QR code scanner, kindly use this, or you can just bit.ly/o-poll. Right, so I'll just give you all a few minutes to quickly answer that. And while you all are doing that, I just want to say a very big thank you to everyone who registered, asked questions, and came. It's because of you, because of the questions that we were able to collect together, that we're able to have this wonderful evening. So put your hands together for yourself. Put your hands together for yourself. Thank you very, very much. Then I also like to thank the leadership of Ennovate Lab, from Tolu Obatunde to Funto Adeshola to Ola Okewemi to Abayomi Perez Okekunle. Thank you so, so much for taking our time today to see, us all and to answer all these questions. Then I also like to thank our CEO in the person of, yes, our CEO and co-founder, Uncle JD. Thank you so, so much. This I should not do familiarity. Okay. Jason Damlare, Adeshegu David. Thank you so much. It is because of you we are gathered here, because you persevered in the vision that you received, because you were able to communicate effectively. Remember what we talked about, communication? Because you persevered, because you sacrificed again and again and again for cash flow. That's the reason why we are still here. 7 years and counting. Please put your hands together. Please put your hands together. Thank you so much, sir. And this will be the last thing that I'll be doing. And once you have done that, if I get a high response of yeah and the hand waving, I will know that my job here is done. So if you have been able to see the pole, wave and say yeah, or don't have to sound as girly as I sound. Okay, yeah. Are we having trouble? If you can't scan it, you can just quickly go on your web browser. Okay, so how many people have been able to access the link? Network issues. How many people have been able to access the link? Okay, we're rising up, we're getting there. Just wait because we're in Nigeria. Okay, stop serving your nation. Okay, just a few more minutes. Wait, and then we'll wrap up the session. And yes, you can go ahead to go, talk to the people I interrupted you so rudely earlier on today. Yes. Okay, yes. So, hands, show of hands. If you have been able to access the link, please kindly raise your hands if you have been able to access the link. Wow. Okay, I think we're rising numbers. So I will just, with the hopes that everyone will be able to do this, we want to do one last thing, which is to take pictures. So can we all, congregate to this side? Please rise up. Rise up and then let's take pictures together. Let's take pictures. So you are the superstar, so that when you blow, I will say I knew you. Nice. All right. If you know, yeah, if you know you're very tall, just congregate at the back. I don't think you'll be seen this way. Yeah, I think you should stop.
Why?
Yes.
Sorry, please. We're not.
No, I don't think it's still. Yeah. Okay, I think some people can still bend down in the front if you want to. You see, Abby? We can't see. Miracle. Back. Hey, when I finish, congratulate to everyone. Like, understand.